aka nickname Lily. As you're all aware, the Illinois State Legislature is really good about picking out laws, if you will, micromanaging detail. So having said that, there is no such thing as casually getting a name as a taxing body placed on property tax bills. There's no such thing as casually getting a property tax funds check written to an individual. For instance, Kentucky Fried Chicken would not be able, we would assume, walk in and get their name placed on property tax bills as a receiver, as if they were a taxing body for taxpayer taxes paid in on real estate. They would not be able to get the county treasurer to write them a check out of the property tax funds collected. But what I have discovered in the research of documents is that for the past 10 years, Marion Heights LLC, which was at that time Doug Bradley, Lynn Holmes, G.A.Y., he has since passed away, so now it is just Doug Bradley and Lynn Holmes, a private entity, a business, if you will, has been able somehow to get their name placed as a taxing body on all of the property tax bills contained within the Marion Heights TIF, which was formed in 2003 by the City of Marion. There's no such thing as casually doing that. As a result, the Treasurer's Office has also written millions of dollars in checks to Marion Heights LLC. Now, the reason I say that, it's important to remember that that is micromanaged, as in, it is the law that at the time I believe it would have been Sandra Jett, and now would be, I don't know how long Amanda's been in, I admit it. But it is the law that the county clerk must certify every year the taxing districts placed on the property tax bills in this county. It is the law that the treasurer must certify. And it also says that only taxing districts, which cuts out Matrix or Kentucky Fried Chicken or Joe's Carpet or Marion Heights LLC. It is the law that the treasurer must certify the names being issued, those taxes, when they distribute the taxes that they have collected. In the middle of those 10 years, a new girl, I was told, was hired, and in the treasurer's office, where all the TIF checks, at the time, last year, for instance, there were 10 TIF districts, all the TIF checks are written to that's in the town of Marion alone, are written in the City of Marion, they are written to the City of Marion. There's no claiming typo, because City of Marion does not sound like Marion Heights LLC. She noticed, and she wrote the checks to the City of Marion. But when she left, it got put back the way it was, which shows intention and purpose. I don't have to point out to you gentlemen that to the taxpayers, the upset taxpayers of this county and this town, that appears to be corruption. A lot of you are probably aware, I presented this to the City Council, where it becomes even more convoluted. Because if instead of Marion Heights cashing those checks, they have been run through the City of Marion's books, which I have documented proof of, bank statements for 7 years going back, into the general funds, where the TIF laws state that all TIF taxes collected must go into the TIF account. And it should be kept separate, and TIF money is dealt with separately. That has not been the case. That is the city's problem. What is the county's problem, what I present to you today in the evidence in front of you? You have a list of the properties in that TIF district last year. At the top, you will notice they got their name inserted. That is not the name of the TIF. Marion Heights LLC is not the name of the TIF. It is registered in this county as a limited liability corporation comprised of 2 individuals. When we called Doug Bradley and said, how'd you get to be a taxing body? He was here at the courthouse within an hour, because he clearly is not a taxing body. And that brings another question. How is it that he was able to come in, talk to Brinson Venable, walk across to Amanda's office, talk to Cindy McManus, and on Doug Bradley's say-so, instruct her to change the computer for next year, because apparently you can't change it in the middle of the year. So that next year, taxpayers be assured the taxes I would assume, are not going to get paid in a check directly to a private entity named Marion Heights LLC. So that's been stopped for next year, but it does not answer what appears to be corruption, fraud, misappropriation of funds, mishandling of millions of taxpayer dollars. These are serious issues, and as you're aware, as a governing body, in front of you, I've compiled years' worth of property tax bills on all of those, which clearly list Marion Heights LLC as receiving 99.9% of those taxes. So, for instance, the stadium that paid $507,000 some odd dollars last year in taxes, $507,000 of that went to the TIF, collected into the county, and $507,000 of that ended up in checks to Marion Heights LLC. That's last year alone. This is on top of TIF checks in the city of Marion in 2012 for right at $800,000. They get close to $500,000 in sales tax money back and another $300,000 out of TIF. You're looking at $2 million going to a private entity called Marion Heights LLC, Doug Bradley Lynn Homes. This is in a TIF district that brings up a whole other question that I'm not exactly raising today, but is worth listening. TIF is supposed to be used as a tool to rejuvenate blighted areas of the community. That particular TIF, when you have an interchange going across, TIF is supposed to be used for an area that's not likely to develop without help, right? There was an interchange planned starting in 2002. In 2007, it was put in. The second Marion Heights TIF, this is continuing, is Marion Heights number 2 on the east side of the property. All vacant, with an interchange coming through, but established in 2006 to develop, who again, for Marion Heights LLC. If this had not been stopped, God only knows how long this would have gone on, because the TIFs are set up to run for 23 years and if need, extend, as they have with Marion's first TIF district, to 35 years. So you had all of the checks in front of you there. 2 days after the city council meeting, an additional check for $654,000 was issued by this treasurer's office to Marion Heights LLC, and again run through the city's books. Now, on the city's account, why would you cast a check written to you? I would. Maybe you're making too much money already. Maybe you need it handled another way. It's called what appears to be money laundering. The issue here is what appears to be corruption. How did a private entity, Marion Heights LLC, be so hands-on in this courthouse that they were able in your county offices to get their name put on the tax bills, which is clearly not a typo, to get checks written to them, clearly not a typo, and in up to 4 checks a year. There's 2 property tax splits, then there's late payments and interest payments, clearly not ignored.
All right, well.
So, and I'm almost done.
Okay.
What I am asking the county board to do today, as the law requires, when you're presented with evidence that you have in front of you, along with the check registers, the checks, etc., is the law requires you to take a vote. What are you going to do about it? Because you do not call the county state's attorney, no offense, Wendy, but you do not call the county to investigate the county. You must call the feds. So I'm asking you to take a vote to call in for a federal investigation.
Well,
this is really serious.
Right now.
And it's an opportunity to do the right thing.
Time out. We're not going to take any kind of vote like that at this moment. Because
Nothing.
that, and it has to be on the agenda to be voted on, that is correct. But also, I don't know, I need to verify, and we need to talk to some people, find out exactly what's going on, what you're talking about. You make some very serious allegations here, but I'm going to turn this down to Wendy anyway for just a second and get some thoughts from her.
Well, obviously I've not had a chance to thoroughly go through everything that you've given us today, and I can assure you I definitely will be going through this, and I'll be going through this with both Amanda and Mr. Venable as well to try to figure out what exactly is in here. You have made some very serious accusations. I don't believe that I think that the way you are seeing things is not the way it really is. I think you're assuming a lot of things. Just because Marion Heights LLC may be a name that's listed on a taxing bill, I think you're assuming that that means the county is corrupt and we're giving money to a private corporation. I think you're assuming things that just aren't there. I don't know if you have other evidence besides this, and like I said, I haven't had a chance to review all this yet. I don't believe that there is evidence there that the county is involved in any kind of corruption. I don't know what's going on at the city. Obviously, we're not the city of Marion. I don't know what's going on there, but I don't believe there's enough evidence to pursue this. I'm sorry.
Okay,
I don't believe there's enough evidence for the county to pursue this. Obviously, if you feel that there is some sort of criminal activity going on, I would suggest don't come to my office, because obviously that would be a conflict. I agree. Go to the Attorney General's office or the Illinois State Police. That's where I think you should go.
That's what you mentioned last meeting too.
Obviously, the Attorney General is going to involve the state police. They're going to want a police investigation done, or the FBI. I don't think that's something that this county board needs to vote on or authorize.
thank you, Amanda. If I could point out one thing. You admit you haven't looked at what's in front of you, but yet you assume and think that there is no evidence. Now, I did not go to I blew up the check for the county meeting, and I have it in my garage if you need it. But I assure you and everyone here that I don't make things up, that the checks are indeed written to Marion Heights LLC, that Marion Heights LLC, as the county knows, is a registered with the county limited liability corporation, a private entity, that if you would simply pick that paper up, you will see those checks, you will see the name on the tax bill. This is evidence, and again, you mentioned accusations. I'm not making accusation. I am presenting evidence that appears to represent very serious, grave.
And I appreciate you bringing this to me, and I will look at it.
I'm just pointing out that you're making condescending assumptions that everything is fine, and you admit yourself you haven't even looked at it. And again, I will remind you of the law that says you must, when presented with evidence, which is exactly what's right in front of you, and I'm hoping that you talk to
You've been
the clerk
requesting
in the
data,
treasurer's
and she
office.
has been talking to
Yeah,
myself
I've
and
been
Brenton
talking
about
about
it. So
it.
she does know some information.
I I'm not going to beat it to death, but I would just like to point out that
Made a lot of
you're making
requests
assumptions about looking.
through the Freedom of Information Act. That's how you're
Correct.
gathering a lot of this information. I'm aware of that, and I have been speaking with both Amanda and Brinson about it. They've been informing me on what's been going on and what kind of things that you've been coming and telling them, and I know what kind of information you've been getting, and I have been talking with them about it, so I am a little bit aware of what's going on.
It's listed on the property tax bills, which is against the law. So you are aware of that. You went into Marion Heights LLC, and you are aware then that Marion Heights LLC is listed on the property tax bills, which is against the law. So you are aware of that, then, I would assume, since you have been
Who's
talking to
cashing
them.
those checks?
I told you, those checks are being run through the city of Marion, which brings up another thing. You don't run checks through your books. Matrix doesn't cash checks for Kentucky Fried Chicken. The city has no business. That's the city's problem, not yours.
How did your meeting go the other day where you went to Marion?
If you had wanted to know that, I would suggest that you would have attended, but I'd say the meeting went well.
It's just
I presented-
just a question.
Okay, it went well.
All right, we done here?
We don't,
Yes. I would ask then that it be put on the agenda, because I am going to be asking about that at the next meeting. When is the next meeting? November?
be the second Tuesday.
The second Tuesday in November.
Now, just until you have a chance to look this over, I don't know how long that's going to take. I'm not going to talk for Wendy, but just from the fact that you have presented it does not mean that we will automatically take a vote. We'll see what's going
No,
to
that
happen.
is, it's your right to call whether to take a vote or not, and then obviously the taxpayers will do what we need to do, but be aware that we are extremely alarmed and extremely upset at what appears to be massive corruption beginning in this courthouse. And again, if I might briefly, last meeting, that would have been in September, I did bring up to you and the, what shall we call them? Extreme and gross irregularities in the tax assessor's office. Mr. Jeff Robinson was just in here earlier. And after that meeting, in which you again assumed I had no facts, I did bring you facts on one transaction, which again, Mr. Brentwood, were not opinions, but facts, in which that Diedrich property purchased at $400,000 was immediately assessed at $118,000, which is a 70% discount, which the rest of us landowners, buyers do not get. Had you looked into that, or you
Yeah.
have been very busy, have not had time?
Nope, did look into that, and I did that myself personally, and the answer for that is very simple, that the land was decreased in value, but when you look at the building, the entire building structure with the land was over $600,000. I do not remember the...
I'm sorry I'm laughing, but I don't know how you pay $400,000 for a building for land only, $400,000 for half an acre in 2011, and it decreases by 2012 on the very next tax bill. How did that land, the assessment and the appraised fair cash value, the definition of it, the legal definition is what a willing buyer is willing to pay a willing seller, which was $400,000, black and white. So how did that decrease? Funny, nobody else has decreased by 70%.
I'm not going to get into a debate with you on that, but if that was the case,
Not if, that's the facts.
if that was the case, then all land in that area should be appraised at the value that it was sold for. If what you're saying,
I think in this county, yes, every piece of property sold should be appraised at that value.
if you have a piece of property that's sold for $250,000, then it should be appraised at
Absolutely, I would think so, yes.
Okay.
That is what the rest of us assume happens, which is not what happens in this county.
Well,
And I will tell you this. I'll walk to my seat so you know I'm shutting up. But I will tell you that at your next meeting, I will be bringing you a huge package of evidence, and rather than present it today, I'm fleshing out the facts on it. And it's egregious beyond words, and that involves the tax assessor's office. So you may not want to look at it. You may want to buy stories the rest of us taxpayers don't buy. When the fat cats in this town get away with special buddy discounts and the rest of us don't. But that'll come up next meeting. Thank you for
Your allegations are pretty
Again,
strong, Lily.
they are, Brent, I would point out to you, do I need to be over here? Hello. I would point out to you, these are very, very serious, serious matters. I realize, and I'm not going to say if true, because they appear to be entirely true, as you will see if you will look at this. So it is a fact that the checks are being made to Marion Heights LLC out of the tax monies brought in against the law. It is a fact that Marion Heights LLC's name is on 20-some tax bills, including their own, where they pay and 99% comes back to them. Now, these are facts, and I realize this is extremely serious, and that's why the taxpayers are alarmed. And it's not a matter that's just going to wash away. You have an opportunity here. Rather than view me as a troublemaker and a trouble rouser saying, hey, she's just upset because her taxes were hiked 134 times, and they got a 70% discount, 60% discount, 30%. No, yes, I'm upset, but it is an opportunity to uncover what's going on, and the voters are watching. We want it uncovered, we want it addressed,
Okay.
and the law requires it to be addressed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What else we got?
I don't have anything else. Does anybody else have anything? No. Have you guys?
I don't know.
Oh, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
11:42.
Jim Marlowe,
Yeah.
Rick Gentry,
Okay.
Ron Ellis.
Yeah.